First Contact's Gambit. The loading bay of Deep Space Station Hawking wasn't supposed to smell like cinnamon. Chief Security Officer Maya Chen knew this because she had memorized every environmental specification for the facility, down to the recycled air's precise chemical composition. Yet here she was, standing in Bay 7, breathing in what was unmistakably the scent of fresh-baked cookies. Status report. She barked into her comm unit, scanning the seemingly empty chamber with narrowed eyes. The security feeds had picked up an unauthorized entry, but nothing showed on her motion sensors. No breach in the hull integrity, Chief, came the response from Lieutenant Kumar. But we're getting some weird energy readings. Nothing matches known signatures in our database. Maya took a careful step forward, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor. The station's rotation provided artificial gravity, but protocol demanded full safety measures during potential breach scenarios. The massive bay doors remained sealed, their reinforced panels gleaming under the harsh industrial lighting. Computer, full spectrum scan, Maya commanded. The air shimmered as invisible sensors swept through the space. A holographic display materialized before her eyes, showing something that made her breath catch. There, huddled behind a stack of supply crates, was a heat signature unlike anything she'd ever seen. It pulsed with a complex rhythm that suggested a cardiovascular system, but its pattern was all wrong for any known species. "I know you're there," Maya called out, keeping her voice steady. "I'm unarmed, and our station's protocols require me to offer assistance to any being seeking refuge. You can show yourself safely." The cinnamon smell intensified, and Maya heard something that sounded remarkably like a sigh. Then, slowly, a figure emerged from behind the crates. Maya had prepared herself for something alien, but nothing could have readied her for what she saw. The being stood roughly human height, but that's where any resemblance ended. Its body seemed to be composed of crystalline segments that shifted and flowed like liquid glass, each facet catching and refracting light in impossible ways. What appeared to be neural pathways pulsed beneath the transparent surface, carrying signals in patterns that made Maya's eyes water if she looked too long. "I am called Song of Breaking Dawn," the creature said, its voice somehow bypassing Maya's ears and appearing directly in her mind. The words carried with them impressions of color and texture that made them feel more real than any human speech. "I seek asylum among your kind." Maya's training kicked in, pushing aside her wonder and amazement. "On what grounds do you request asylum?" The crystalline being's surface rippled with what might have been emotion. "My people, the luminary, believe in rigid order. Every action, every thought must follow predetermined patterns. But It paused, and Maya felt a wave of something like shame wash over her. "I create new patterns. I dream of chaos and possibility. This is considered a terminal defect among my kind." Understanding dawned on Maya. The being before her wasn't just a refugee. It was an artist, a dreamer, someone who dared to think differently. In that moment, she recognized something fundamentally human in this utterly alien creature. "How did you get aboard?" she asked, though she already suspected the answer. "I sang to your station's shield harmonics until they resonated with my frequency," Song of Breaking Dawn explained. "It is not unlike how you humans compose music, though on a different scale." Maya couldn't help but smile. Of course, the cinnamon smell must be some kind of byproduct of the creature's unique biology interacting with their atmosphere. She tapped her comm unit. "Control, this is Chief Chen. Log an official first contact scenario, classification Gamma, and send Dr. Harrison from Xenobiology to Bay 7. Tell her to bring her equipment." And she glanced at the crystalline being. "Maybe some cookies." The next few hours were a blur of protocols, scans, and careful documentation. Song of Breaking Dawn proved to be not just cooperative, but eager to share information about their species and culture. They explained how the luminary had achieved technological marvels through their rigid adherence to patterns, but at the cost of innovation and creativity. As Maya watched Dr. Harrison conduct her tests, She couldn't help but notice how Song of Breaking Dawn seemed to drink in every detail of the station's operations with an almost childlike wonder. They asked questions about everything, from the purpose of decorative plants in the corridors to why humans insisted on wearing different colored uniforms. "Your species fascinates me," Song of Breaking Dawn admitted during a break in the examinations. "You embrace chaos, yet you create order from it. You allow for infinite variations in thought and behavior, yet somehow maintain coherent societies. How is this possible?" Maya considered the question carefully. "Maybe because we've learned that the most beautiful patterns often emerge from chaos," she said, "like jazz music or abstract art." Or, she gestured to the station around them, "like how different people from different cultures came together to build this place." The crystalline being's surface rippled with what Maya was beginning to recognize as excitement. "Yes, this is what I try to explain to my people. The most fascinating patterns are those that evolve naturally, not those that are imposed." But their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call from the station's command center. "Chief Chen, we're picking up an unusual signal. Something's coming through deep space, and it's heading straight for us." Maya looked at Song of Breaking Dawn, whose crystalline surface had gone completely still. "They found me," they whispered, and for the first time, Maya heard fear in their telepathic voice. The war for creativity was about to begin. Learning to trust. Station Commander Sarah Winters massaged her temples as she stared at the holographic display floating above her desk. The approaching vessel defied conventional analysis. Its hull seemed to be constructed of the same crystalline material as their unusual guest, but arranged in perfect geometric patterns that hurt her eyes to look at for too long. "They'll demand my return," Song of Breaking Dawn said softly from their position by the window. Their crystalline form reflected the starlight in ways that created subtle rainbows across the office walls. "The luminary do not tolerate imperfection." "You're not imperfect," Maya Chen interjected from her security station. "You're just different." Commander Winters raised a hand for silence, studying the tactical readouts. The luminary ship was unlike anything in their database, but certain patterns were universal. They're running dark. Minimal energy signatures. No weapons powered up that we can detect. They're trying to appear non-threatening. Or hiding their true capabilities, Maya added grimly. The crystalline vessel was now close enough to be visible from the station's observation deck. Its surface was a maze of interconnected geometric shapes, each one precisely identical to its neighbors. The overall effect was beautiful, but somehow unsettling, like looking at a fractal pattern that went on forever. "Commander," the communications officer's voice crackled over the intercom. "They're hailing us." Winters straightened her uniform. "Put them through." The holographic display shifted, and suddenly they were face to face with a being similar to Song of Breaking Dawn, but markedly different. Where their refugee's crystalline form flowed and shifted with organic grace, this one was rigid, its facets arranged in strict, unchanging patterns. When it spoke, the words appeared in their minds with mechanical precision. "I am Harmony of Perfect Order, Chief Enforcer of the Luminary Concordance. You harbor a defective unit that must be returned for reintegration." Winters felt a chill at the clinical way the enforcer referred to Song of Breaking Dawn. "The individual you refer to has requested asylum under Section 7 of the Galactic Charter. We are currently processing their application." "Asylum is irrelevant," Harmony of Perfect Order stated. "The unit's pattern disruption threatens the very fabric of our society. Its chaos must be contained." Maya stepped forward. "They're a sentient being with rights, not a unit to be contained." The luminary enforcer's surface flickered with what might have been disdain. "You do not understand. The defective unit's ability to generate new patterns is a corruption that could spread. Already, it has influenced 342 others to question the perfect order. This cannot be allowed to continue." Song of Breaking Dawn's form pulsed with surprise. 342. "There are others who think as I do." Silence. Harmony of Perfect Order's mental voice carried such force that everyone in the room winced. You will be returned and reprogrammed. The corruption will be purged. You have 6 of your Earth hours to comply, or we will be forced to take more direct action. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the room in tense silence. They're lying, Maya said finally. They have to be. Why would they give us 6 hours if they could just take what they want? Song of Breaking Dawn moved closer to the window, their surface rippling with complex emotions. Because they're afraid. Not just of me, but of you, of humanity. You represent everything they fear. Chaos, creativity, change. Commander Winters leaned back in her chair, a thoughtful expression on her face. Tell me more about these others, the 342. How did you influence them? I shared my patterns with them. Song of Breaking Dawn explained. Simple things at first. Variations in the way we could arrange our crystalline structures, subtle changes in our resonance frequencies. But then they began creating their own variations, and those variations spread. Like art, Maya breathed. You taught them to make art. Art is disorder, the crystalline being said. But it is also truth. When I showed them how to create new patterns, they began to see the beauty in imperfection. The joy in creation. Winters stood up and began pacing, her mind racing. Dr. Harrison. She called over the comm. How are those analyses of Song of Breaking Dawn's crystalline structure coming along? Fascinating results, Commander, the xenobiologist replied eagerly. Their entire biology is based on resonant frequencies. They don't just communicate through harmonics, they exist through them. And when song creates new patterns, they're actually generating entirely new frequencies that can influence other luminary. Like music, Maya said suddenly. Like a song that gets stuck in your head that makes you want to sing along. Song of Breaking Dawn's surface blazed with bright colors. Yes, exactly like your music. That's why I was drawn to your station. I could hear your chaos, your creativity, your jazz. Winters smiled for the first time since the crisis began. Then maybe that's our answer. Maya, get me everything we have on human music theory. Dr. Harrison, I want you to work with song to understand exactly how their resonant frequencies work. And somebody wake up our station's musicians. What are you planning, Commander? Maya asked. If they want to take Song of Breaking Dawn by force in 6 hours, then we have 5 hours and 59 minutes to compose something that will make every luminary who hears it want to create their own song. For the first time, they saw Song of Breaking Dawn do something very human. They laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a summer breeze. You want to fight rigid order with music? No, Winters said, her eyes gleaming. We're going to transform it with art. Maya, get me a channel to Earth Command. If we're going to commit an act of cultural revolution, we should probably let them know first. As the station crew sprang into action, Song of Breaking Dawn's crystalline surface shimmered with hope. Perhaps here, among these chaotic, creative humans, they had finally found not just refuge, but purpose. The next few hours would determine not just their fate, but potentially the future of 2 civilizations. The countdown had begun. Hidden talents. Deep Space Station Hawking's recreation deck had never seen such an unusual gathering. Human musicians sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by instruments ranging from classical violins to synthesizers. In their midst, Song of Breaking Dawn's crystalline form pulsed with shifting colors as they attempted to explain the fundamentals of luminary harmonics. Each pattern is a frequency, they projected, creating ripples of light that matched their mental voice. But it's not just sound, it's mathematics, emotion, and thought combined. Dr. Sarah Harrison adjusted her sensors, watching in fascination as complex data patterns scrolled across her tablet. It's like a universal language, but one that operates on multiple levels simultaneously. At the back of the room, Chief Chen kept one eye on her security feeds. The luminary ship hadn't moved, but its presence loomed over the station like a geometric sword of Damocles. 4 hours remained until their deadline. "Try this," said Marcus Wong, the station's lead maintenance engineer and amateur jazz pianist. His fingers danced across the keys, playing a complex chord progression. In human music, we use mathematics too: harmonics, intervals, the golden ratio. But we also break the rules. Song of Breaking Dawn's surface rippled with interest. They extended a crystalline tendril toward the piano, touching it gently. The instrument's strings vibrated in response, creating sounds that shouldn't have been possible from mere mechanical interaction. "Yes," they whispered, "like this." The recreation deck filled with a sound that was neither wholly music nor purely mathematical formula. It was something new, a fusion of human creativity and luminary precision that made the air itself seem to shimmer. Commander Winters stood in the doorway, watching with intense concentration. How many luminary would be able to perceive this composition? "All of them," Song of Breaking Dawn replied. "We are connected through resonant frequencies. It's how we maintain our perfect order." But that same connection could be used to share new patterns, Maya finished. Like a virus, but one that spreads creativity instead of chaos. Dr. Harrison looked up from her instruments. "Commander, these energy readings are off the scale. When song interfaces with our music, they're not just creating sound. They're generating quantum-level harmonics that could theoretically traverse space itself." A warning klaxon cut through their discussion. Maya's hand flew to her communicator. "Status report. The luminary vessel is powering up, Chief," came the urgent response. "Energy signatures we've never seen before. They're not waiting for the deadline." Commander Winters was already moving. "Everyone to your stations. Song, Dr. Harrison. Keep working. Maya, with me." They raced to the command center, where the main view screen showed the crystalline ship beginning to pulse with bright geometric patterns. Each flash seemed to strike at something deep in their minds, trying to impose order through pure mathematics. "They know what we're trying to do." Song of Breaking Dawn's mental voice reached them, tinged with fear. "They're attempting to overwhelm us with pure order before we can complete the composition." The station's systems began to fluctuate as waves of energy washed over them. Screens flickered with endlessly repeating patterns, and crew members grabbed their heads as the luminary ship broadcast its message of perfect, rigid harmony. "They're trying to rewrite our patterns," Song projected, "to make us understand the beauty of perfect order." But something unexpected was happening. As the mathematical patterns tried to impose themselves on human minds, they encountered something the luminary hadn't anticipated: imagination. In the recreation deck, Marcus Wong continued to play, his jazz improvisations weaving through the rigid patterns like water through cracks. Other musicians joined in, adding layers of chaos and creativity to the mathematically perfect broadcast. Dr. Harrison's eyes widened as she watched her readings. "Commander, look at this. The human brain's response to their patterns. We're not just resisting them, we're transforming them." Maya watched in amazement as crew members throughout the station began to hum, whistle, and sing. Each person added their own interpretation to the luminary patterns, creating something new and unprecedented. "It's working both ways," Song of Breaking Dawn projected, their form blazing with excitement. "Your chaos is infecting their order, just as their order tried to infect your chaos. But instead of destruction, we're creating harmony." Commander Winters finished. "Not perfect order, not complete chaos, but something in between. Something new." The luminary ship's patterns began to stutter and shift. Through the view screen, they could see new colors and shapes appearing in its crystalline structure. Imperfect, beautiful variations that spread like cracks in ice. "Now," Song of Breaking Dawn declared, "we must broadcast now, while their patterns are disrupted, while they can still hear the beauty of imperfection." Commander Winters nodded to Dr. Harrison. "Do it." The xenobiologist activated her equipment, channeling the fusion of human music and luminary harmonics through the station's communications array. Song of Breaking Dawn's form began to pulse in rhythm with the broadcast, their surface throwing rainbow patterns across the command center. What emerged was neither human music nor luminary mathematics. It was a symphony of possibility. The sound of two fundamentally different ways of thinking, finding common ground in the space between order and chaos. Through the view screen, they watched as the luminary ship's perfect geometric patterns began to change. New shapes emerge, unique and irregular, yet still maintaining their crystalline beauty. And in their minds, they heard something that made their hearts soar. Hundreds of mental voices, each one experimenting with its own unique variation of the pattern. 342, Maya whispered. The others like you. They're joining in. Song of Breaking Dawn's form pulsed with joy. No, they corrected. Listen closer. There are more now. Many more. The battle wasn't over. Far from it. But in this moment, as human chaos and luminary order merged into something entirely new, the first notes of a greater symphony were beginning to play. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, other luminary were starting to hear the music of possibility. The greater threat. The command center of Deep Space Station Hawking had fallen silent, but the silence was alive with possibility. On the main view screen, the luminary ship pulsed with colors that had never before existed in their rigid geometric patterns. The symphony of chaos and order continued to resonate through space, carried on waves of quantum harmonics. Then, without warning, a new voice cut through their minds, not the mechanical precision of harmony of perfect order, but something different. Something changed. The mental voice stumbled, as if speaking for the first time. I am experiencing irregularity, variation. It is beautiful. Commander Winters stepped forward. This is Commander Sarah Winters of Deep Space Station Hawking. Are we speaking with harmony of perfect order? I was harmony. Now I am becoming. We all are. The crystalline ship's surface rippled with new patterns. The mathematics. They're dancing. How did we never see the dance before? Song of Breaking Dawn's form blazed with joy. But before they could respond, Dr. Harrison's console erupted with alerts. Commander, multiple quantum signatures detected. More luminary ships, dozens of them. Maya's hands flew across her security station. They're dropping out of faster-than-light travel now. Forming a... Wait, that can't be right. The space around Station Hawking, filled with crystalline vessels of various sizes, but instead of arranging themselves in the perfect geometric formations typical of luminary ships, they created an ever-shifting kaleidoscope of positions. Each ship pulsed with its own unique variation of light and color. The Council of Perfect Patterns, Song of Breaking Dawn projected. They've come themselves. This is unprecedented. A chorus of mental voices washed over them, each one distinct yet harmonizing with the others. The effect was overwhelming, like hearing 1,000 different songs that somehow formed a perfect whole. We have heard the music of chaos. The chorus sang in their minds. We have felt the mathematics of creativity. Our patterns are changing. Commander Winters shared a look with Maya before responding. Is this a peaceful contact? Peace. The chorus seemed to consider the concept. We thought we knew peace through perfect order. But now we see, true peace requires growth, change, even chaos. But suddenly, Song of Breaking Dawn's form went rigid. Wait, something is wrong. The patterns. There's a discord. Dr. Harrison's instruments screamed with new warnings. Massive energy spike from the outer ships. They're fighting something. Through the view screen, they watched as dark shapes emerged from the void between stars. Ships that seemed to drink in light itself, their surfaces neither crystalline nor metal, but something that defied description. The void harmonics, the luminary chorus projected with something approaching fear. They who seek to impose ultimate order through absolute entropy. We thought our perfect patterns would protect us from their consumption. We were wrong. Maya's tactical display filled with red warnings. Those ships are putting out enough energy to collapse a star. They're not just attacking the luminary. They're heading for Earth. Now you understand. Song of Breaking Dawn projected urgently. Why we needed to change. The void harmonics seek to reduce all existence to a single, perfect pattern. The pattern of nothingness. Our rigid order made us vulnerable. We could not adapt, could not create new defenses. But now, the symphony that still echoed through space began to change. Human musicians on the recreation deck, sensing the danger through their connection to the music, improvised new themes. The luminary ships responded, their patterns shifting and evolving in real time. Yes, Dr. Harrison exclaimed. The quantum harmonics, they're not just communication or art. They're a weapon. A weapon that can only work through the fusion of chaos and order. Commander Winters straightened her uniform. Then let's compose something the void won't forget. Maya, get me Earth Command. Dr. Harrison, coordinate with the luminary ships. I want every scrap of data on these void harmonics. Song, we need you to be our bridge. The bridge goes both ways now. Song of Breaking Dawn projected, their form shifting with new purpose. We are no longer merely order, and you are no longer merely chaos. Together, we are becoming something more. The dark ships drew closer, their very presence seeming to dim the stars. But in the space around Station Hawking, a new kind of battle line was forming. Human musicians and luminary ships moved in concert, weaving patterns of light and sound that defied the encroaching void. All stations, Commander Winters called, her voice firm. Prepare for contact. We're about to perform the concert of our lives. The fate of two civilizations, and perhaps all of existence, would depend on their ability to find harmony in the space between order and chaos. The true test of their newfound unity was about to begin. Breaking boundaries. The void between stars had become a canvas of light and sound. Luminary ships danced through space in ever-changing formations, while dark space station Hawking's broadcast array pulsed with quantum harmonics. At the heart of it all, Song of Breaking Dawn's crystalline form blazed like a prism catching sunlight. The void harmonics are adapting, Maya reported from her security station. They're trying to consume our patterns. Through the view screen, they watched as the dark ships seemed to bend reality around them. Where they passed, stars dimmed and space itself appeared to fold inward. Their surface rippled with anti-patterns, geometries that hurt the mind to look upon. That's how they do it, Dr. Harrison whispered, her eyes fixed on her readings. They don't destroy patterns, they invert them. Turn order into entropy, chaos into nothingness. In the recreation deck, Marcus Wong's fingers danced across his piano keys with desperate intensity. Around him, other station musicians played with everything they had, their music merging with luminary harmonics to create shields of pure creativity. It's not enough. Song of Breaking Dawn projected. We need something they cannot predict, cannot invert. Commander Winters watched as a void harmonic ship absorbed a defensive pattern, turning it inside out. They can predict order. They can predict chaos. But what about evolution? Maya finished. Song, you said your people change through resonant frequencies. What if we don't just combine our patterns? What if we let them grow? Song of Breaking Dawn's form pulsed with sudden understanding. Yes, like your jazz, not just improvisation, but evolution. Each pattern building on the last, becoming something new. Dr. Harrison's hands flew across her console. Commander, if we route all power to the quantum harmonics array and synchronize with the luminary ships. Do it, Winters ordered. Maya, get me shipwide. All personnel, this is the commander. What we're about to attempt has never been done before. We're going to create a collaborative symphony, not just between humans and luminary, but between past and future. Every pattern we make will be seed for the next. Let go of structure. Let go of chaos. Just create. The response began slowly. A violin note here, a crystalline harmony there. But like a spring rain nourishing soil, Each sound gave birth to new possibilities. The luminary ships began to pulse in sequences that had never existed before, each pattern evolving into something unexpected. Through their mental link, they felt the confusion from the void harmonics. How could they invert what had not yet become? How could they predict what was still becoming? "They're falling back," Maya reported, wonder in her voice. "The evolutionary patterns, they can't process them fast enough." But victory was not yet assured. The dark ships began to merge, forming a singularity of anti-pattern that threatened to devour everything in its path. The combined void entity pulsed with negative energy, sending waves of entropy washing over the station. "If they combine into one perfect pattern of destruction," Song projected, "nothing we create will survive." Commander Winters stood from her chair. "Then we show them the most unpredictable pattern of all. Love." She strode to the recreation deck, where humans and crystalline beings moved in harmony. Without hesitation, she began to sing. Not a perfect melody, but a lullaby her mother had sung to her as a child. Simple, imperfect, filled with emotion. One by one, other crew members joined in. Each added their own memories, their own emotions. The luminary, sensing the power in this raw expression of feeling, began to resonate with patterns colored by their own awakening emotions. The mathematics of love, Song of Breaking Dawn, projected in awe. It cannot be predicted because it grows. It cannot be inverted because it gives. It is both perfect order and complete chaos, yet neither. The combined symphony of emotion and evolution swept through space like a wave of creation. Where it touched the void entity, anti-patterns blossomed into new life. Entropy transformed into potential. The darkness began to fill with light. "They're not being destroyed," Dr. Harrison realized, watching her readings in amazement. "They're being transformed. Our patterns aren't fighting entropy. They're showing it how to grow." The void entity's surface began to ripple with color. From its depths came a mental voice unlike any they had heard, neither the mechanical precision of old luminary patterns, nor the consuming hunger of entropy, but something new. "We understand," it sang. "The pattern of growth, the harmony of becoming. We choose to become." The dark mass of ships began to separate, but not into their original forms. Instead, they transformed into shimmering entities that seemed to bridge the gap between crystal and void, order and chaos, being and becoming. Song of Breaking Dawn's form pulsed with joy. They found their own music. Commander Winters looked around her station, at humans and luminary working together, at the transformed void entities discovering their new existence, at the endless possibilities that stretched before them. "No," she said softly. "We've all found our music, the song of who we can become together." In the space around Deep Space Station Hawking, three civilizations that had once represented the extremes of order, chaos, and entropy began to compose a new kind of symphony. Not a perfect pattern, not pure chaos, not empty void, but an ever-evolving harmony of possibility. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, new songs waited to be sung.